Melbourne. This is going to be quite the session for absolutely everybody out there here. After a 2-week break, we are back at Spa-Francorchamps here this week. And as you saw there on the graphic, the air temperature of a stunning 10 degrees air temperature here. Track temperature 16 degrees, so it is quite cold here in Belgium, but that is not to worry whatsoever here. The session will begin in around about 2 minutes time. The cars are out there in the pit lane getting ready and drivers jumping in here, so a couple minute delay to when we are meant to start, but this session should be quite exciting here. Group A are scheduled to go out first, then Group B, then when we head to QP2 tomorrow after race 1, we'll be getting Group B, then Group A. Meanwhile, DePaulo leads the championship by just 14 points heading into this round. Can he extend that championship lead heading into this round? Here, that is going to be the big question about whether or not we will be able to see any more improvement here at Belgium, here at Spa. This is going to be a good session to be a part of for each and every one of these drivers for the Formula Reginol European Championship by Alpine. If you missed it earlier, Formula 1, Oscar Piastri took FP1 out. Lennon Norris, took FP1 out by doing a 1 minute 16.4. Then Oscar Piastri does a 1 minute 15.3. So nearly 1.1 seconds faster. The track evolved and we saw some fast lap times. Meanwhile, for Frecker, the timer starts ticking. It is session has gone green. Here, drivers are going to be eligible to head now out onto the circuits. So far at the moment, nobody has head out there. Now, apparently there is the threat of rain in this session. Quite possibly here, but all the drivers now head out onto the circuit. This session is all but important here. Now, if you don't know how the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine qualifying sessions work, Group A will head out there first. They will do their times allocated in the 15 minutes that they have. Someone will then set a fast time that will put them on provisional pole. Group B then have a chance to try and beat that time that was set in Group A. So I might have to write a few notes down in this session and just sort of remember how this session will roll. But let's see who will take provisional pole in this session. It is looking quite gloomy overhead here at Spa-Francorchamps, but that shouldn't be a worry at this point. People start their laps and they make their way up to the top part of the circuit and make their way up into turn 3, the long straight in a Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine car. Practically what is a Formula 3 car here this weekend, but drivers still getting pressure and temperature into this Pirelli rubber. And once you have that temperature and pressure, you will be able to go on to that lap and set what is a competitive lap time when you have that grip under you to do that lap. But of course, you have to have the pressures and temperatures up. Right, if you don't, you have a chance of getting a puncture. And a puncture around here is never good. So you will not be wanting a puncture. That is the last thing you will want around this circuit. If you get a puncture, it is more than likely that you will go off and in the wall at high speed. High speed is an understatement to how fast you will go off and in the wall around this circuit. This is just on dry tires, by the way. Wet tires with a wet track, it's never ever good to be heading around this circuit on a wet track. Of course, this weekend this is going to be an important session. We have Diane Pan returning into the championship here this weekend, and Jack Beaton also returns as well. So Diane Pan and Jack Beaton return to the championship here this week, and Diane Pan in her normal 28 Formula 3 car. Of course, she wrapped up her F1 Academy Championship last year. Now this year she coincidentally returns to Formula Reginol European Championship by Alpine this weekend. Coincidentally. But it will probably take 2 or 3 laps before we start to see some fast times. Saka Aldaroshi on screen at the moment. Aldaroshi making his way up through the top part of the circuit. This is Kalkani in the Axel GP Formula 3 car, making his way back around to the line and starting quite possibly what is his 1 lap. One of probably 3 laps that you will get. So it's important to get this tyre temperature and pressure quite quickly into these tyres, because if you don't get that quickly, you might not have enough time to do another lap. Of course, one of the longest circuits, the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, goes to one of the longest circuits, one of probably the toughest circuits, Circuit to Spa-Francorchamps here this weekend. We're going to start laps now, and that is a big sideways moment from the number 15 of Kalkani, getting real sideways as he heads into turn number 1. Getting real sideways there, but that is really scary. Diane Pan, she's also racing in the GT cars that are here this weekend. We are supporting some GT cars. Formula Regional European Championship supporting GT cars here this weekend. It's going to be quite easy to get track position around this circuit. That is what you want to get. Baron Bhakti has just gone to the top of the session, noting that he's started his flying lap. Baron Bhakti and Julter, who was quick in the first rounds, which I was obviously able to stream, being I was busy. Baron Bhakti has started his lap now and makes his way around the circuit. He's actually climbing through the top part of the circuit now. Everybody now starts their laps. This is going to be important. These important few laps for everybody out there. Evan Julter on screen at the moment in the number 95 AIX Racing car. He makes his way in the Alpine Academy car. Of course, this is the feature series to Formula 3, and then of course Formula 3 the feeder series to Formula 2, and then Formula 2 the feeder series to Formula 1. So you have to make your way through the ranks. Of course, you start in Formula 4 UAE, make your way to Italian F4, then Formula Regional European Championship, Formula 3, Formula 2, and then Formula 1. But before Formula 4 UAE, you start in what is the go-karting. So you start in go-karting, try and get your name out there. Navin Bunbiran Bhakti just done the fastest time, 2:11.7. So far, Rashid Al-Heri, he's on a quick lap at the moment. He's nearly half a second up on Biran Bhakti to that first and second sector. He's magenta absolutely everywhere. Evan Julter as well. He's up on his he's currently on a personal best lap, but he's matching Rashid Al-Heri to that first and second sector, except he's about 0.1 slower than Al-Heri in that second sector. Jin Nakamura, he's also up. His personal best first and second sector. What's this lap going to be from Rashid Al-Heri? He goes to the top. It's a 2-minute 11.3. It's nearly 0.1 faster. 2-minute 12.4 from Evan Julter, who goes P4. Lee goes third. Dorian Pan goes fourth. Good job from her. Claro goes up in... Dion Cowder goes up into P5. Jack Beaton has currently not set a time here. Nakamura Roberto, though, is at the top. 2-minute 11.097. 0.2 back to Al-Heri. Biran Bhakti in third. Enzo Lai. Oh, big crash. And that is the number 16. Oh, that's a big crash. That is Al-Moshri, the Akel GP car, and a red flag immediately here. That is a big crash from... And that is actually through... Oh, he's lost the rear end and shunt in the wall. So, big crash from the number 16 there. He lost the rear end, spun the car, and in the fence really hard. This will put a delay to this session. If anything, end the session here. So, that will be quite disappointing. I won't be surprised if there's damage to that fence as well that he has done there, but not a good start to the weekend for the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine with a red flag early on. But Nakamura Berta, he's on provisional pole, 2-minute 11.7, 2/10 back to Al-Heri, and then Biran Bhakti in third in the number 7. Fans walking up and down, trying to find a good spot to watch Frecker here, but big suspension damage to the number 18 AIX Axel car, in the fence. And there's some substantial damage to the right front suspension of that car. Substantial to the point where it's ripped the wheel off. Normally these cars are quite strong, but in that impact, there is absolutely no going back from that impact at such brutal forces as well. I won't be surprised if they will actually have to repair that fence because he did have quite a big shunt with it. But the clock is stopped at 5 minutes and 23 seconds to go. Luckily, the driver is out of the car and will hop into the Belgian medical car and go get checked up. Make sure he's A-okay. But it's good to see that he's made his way out there. But will this session restart? I'm going to guess not. With 5 or so minutes to go, I'm going to guess no in this session. But Nakamura Berta could be on provisional pole position here if it stays the way it is of a 2-minute 11.747 of provisional pole. That's not a bad lap if you think about it. 5.5 minutes to go. One red flag here for the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Under red flag conditions here for the moment. Quite possibly the ending session red flag here, because it takes 2 minutes and 10 seconds to get around here on a fast lap, and then by the time you actually get around. Now, of course, the clock is stopped, but there will be a matter of time certain playing into this. Most likely will be a matter of time certain playing here, but that is quite a hefty incident. Possibility of rain this weekend for these young drivers. Rain is never good here around Spa. Something you probably don't want in your everyday life around Spa, especially when you're racing around Spa-Francorchamps. Not an easy circuit when it comes to that sort of stuff. But we're currently waiting for the confirmation of whether or not this session will restart with 5.5 minutes to go. Of course, the timer is stopped, but when you have quite a hefty stoppage time certain can play a role in this as well. So that's the reason why I am thinking as to whether or not this session will restart. If it was 10 minutes in, then there'd probably be a different story to this, and it might restart. But of course, I think there's a certain amount of stoppage time that these drivers actually get through a qualifying session. So it's probably not going to be much time in that time certainty left for Group A, but of course there is still Group B to run in this session. 5 minutes and 20 seconds remaining here in this session, and we are under red flag at the moment, but Nakamura Berta is at the top, 2-minute 11.744 by 0.2. Car 16 best lap time deleted for causing a red flag. So, and good job to the Spa team to get that car retrieved and out of the way. We will hopefully get a green flag here. And amazing job to get that car retrieved and out of the way. We should be going back green here in a few moments time. Possibly, I'm going to guess 2 minutes, maybe less. But there you go, there's the confirmation, 2-minute 11.7. Nakamura Berta, then Al-Tahiri, 2-minute 11.312. Baron Bakhti, 2-minute 11.701. That is your top three. And separated by just under a second. So the margins aren't as tight because the circuit isn't as short as other circuits normally are. But of course, this qualifying session will just get quicker and quicker because the Pirelli rubber will be put down for Group B. But of course, that will be the opposite tomorrow when we go qualifying again for QP2, qualifying 2, where Group B will go out first and Group A will get the best of the track conditions. The track will be grippy. It will rub it up as The Group B session will have gone on, and Group A will get the best of the conditions. It's always important to try and find the maximum grip you possibly can, because the moment you can, you get that good lap. And when the car's gripped up under you, it just feels amazing. Almost like you're driving a open wheel car in that position. So that's how amazing it feels. And to be honest, I reckon it's probably the best thing you will ever drive when you have a car that's fully gripped up Pirelli tyres, particularly as to why we are under the red flag. And a big shunt from the number 18. Now, I'm going to guess the reason why we are still under red flag is because of the fact that that wall has taken a substantial hit, and that is the exact reason why we are still under red flag, because I just saw the truck drive by, the wall fixing truck. At this point, it will be a driver's worst nightmare to see that truck, especially the drivers that didn't do it, that didn't cause the red flag. It's their worst nightmare, to be honest. Something you don't exactly want. Let's see there, the Frecker car being retrieved back into the pits, back into the paddock, try and get that car repaired for race 1. Tomorrow, my time, 9:30, I'll be streaming race 1. And then Formula 1 practice 3, a few hours later, qualifying, back with qualifying 2, again, from around about the same time. Maybe a little bit early. Never know. But, yeah, and then, of course, the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, I will be streaming that from 3:30 Monday afternoon. I'll try and find the time to stream the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine Race 2. But how this is going to work is the weekends that Frecker aren't on, I will be streaming F1 Academy for supporting the Formula 1 Grand Prix. And the weekends that F1 Academy aren't on, it will be either Italiano, the F4 Italian Championship, or Formula Regional European Championship. So that's how my schedule. Trying to work it around it. Here, of course, different time zones for Belgium and Italy. From what I know, I think the Italian F4 Championship is going to... Let's pull a card next for the Italiano F4 Championship. And of course, when F1 isn't on, it's a bit of a break. So I'm going to be trying to stream as many events as possible. When F1 isn't on, it might be F4, the Italian F4 Championship, or it might be Freco, or none of them on, and I get a break. So yeah, it's either one or the other. One, the other, or none. 5.5 minutes to go in this session. Now, I just saw Marshall clapping there, so I'm guessing that wall seems to be close to fixed here, because of course that was quite a hefty impact between the wall and the car. It's actually substantially moved the wall back a few feet, actually. Feet sounds like a pretty good explanation as to how far that wall has been moved back. I'm going to be back in about 2 minutes. Hopefully we are back and away. Still under red flag conditions here for the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Still under red flag after quite a hefty hit with the wall up at the top of this Belgium circuit here. So that seems to be as if it's running through, I think that looks to be maybe turn 11 or turn 12. It's just coming off the exit curb, stuck a wheel in the gravel and spun so far that it's hit the fence and brutally taken off that front suspension. It's going to be a bit of work for some of those teams to try and get those cars back out on circuit. Now, as to if this session gets back underway here, we have 5.5 minutes to go. You can see there the pit lane packed with all the Frecker cars as they're just patiently waiting to see if this session will get back underway. Because probably, if this session doesn't get back underway, and there you go, so session has been suspended. Session suspended, meaning red flag. See there, the sign saying session suspended, giving us good proof. Red flag into this one. Not what these drivers will be wanting or possibly needing, being the fact that they'll be wanting to get back out there on the circuit and try and get some more laps under their belts. But when you've got a red flag like this, you can't really do much about it. Here. So whilst I was just taking a bit of a break there, you can see they're actually replacing that wall. So a hefty delay here in the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Qualifying 1. Quite a big delay. They're actually replacing that wall. That wall with a tyre barrier. So that's why there's such a hefty delay here in this session. 5.5 minutes to go in this one. Will we get back underway is the big question. It's the big question mark around it. Nakamura Berta at the moment is on provisional pole, 2:11.097. Provisional pole for the moment. 5.5 minutes remaining. And the moment I see a green light or that red light stop flashing in front of my eyes is when we get this session back underway, and we will finally get some racing. As to if that happens or not is the big question here. Red flag still out here for the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. our championship leader here, Paolo, will be also waiting in his car, possibly getting ready to head out in his group. Maybe thinking that this session might not continue, but it will actually go off the combined test sessions that happened a bit earlier on. We'll go off 2 practice sessions that happened a bit earlier on. And yes, this session quite important here as it sets the grid for race 1, and then race 2 being set off by qualifying 2 here. So Formula Regional European Championship here by Alpine has a little bit of a delay to proceedings after the car having a big shunt with the wall coming off the exit of the curb, touching a little bit of gravel and smacked the fence. Big suspension damage, the right front of that car. But that is the reason why we are under red flag for the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Still 5.5 minutes to go. Okay, so still quite a delay going on here. Bit of an update before we head back out onto the circuit. There are more tyre barriers going in, which is always a good sign here, but as to if this qualifying session actually even continues is the big question, because we've got 5 minutes left in this one, and then you've got another 15 minutes in the next one. So at the moment, Nakamura Berta is on pole position. 2:11.0 is the outcome of this session at the moment. Nakamura Berta on pole position from Asher, from Aldahari. In P2, he's done a 2:11.2 to go P2 in this session, but still under a hefty red flag. And we have been now for around about 20 minutes of this session. The car's waiting there patiently to head back out, but clock saying that we've got 15 minutes left in this session. 14 minutes left in this session. That's at least what the clock is saying here. 14 minutes of time certain, and 5 minutes left in this session, plus a 5-minute break. Head back out for Q2. I don't reckon Q2 will happen. At the moment, I'm saying that Nakamura Berta will get pole position. This session might conclude. They might finish this session, but it all depends as to what race control think here as to whether or not the next 2 sessions go ahead. The classic Spa-Francorchamps circuit is putting on a bit of action, well, hoping to put on a bit of action tomorrow morning from 9:30 when I go live for race 1, and of course back for race 2 a bit later on in that day. So, turnout of crowd here, getting ready to watch on for Frecker here, but of course still under red flag, so there's not really much to watch through here. We've got 5 minutes and 23 seconds to go in this one. The sun is peeking through at the moment. There you go. The sun is now out and shining on the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. Haven't seen much of that within the past 45 minutes. But the sun now pokes through, beaming on the Spa-Francorchamps circuit here for Frecker. But how long will that last for here? Because as to if this session gets back underway, of course, teams will be notified before the TV coverage is notified. So I'm still left clueless, but I reckon this session will not continue here, being 45 minutes gone in this session. 45 minutes gone here, and you've got 12 minutes of time certainty left. It might not happen. Being you still have 5 minutes of this session plus a 5-minute break. plus another 15-minute session, and you've got 11 minutes of time certain left. Probably won't happen if you were thinking about it in the real world. But 5.5 minutes to go. Red flag still out. But of course, Marshall's making sure the safety of each and every driver here at this circuit is safe, and also for the upcoming category that is, I'm not actually completely sure what is out on track next, but for the upcoming category is out after Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine, making sure they're safe, and also making sure these young Formula 3 drivers, young Formula 4 drivers are safe around this circuit. Safety being the number one thing of a motor race. And if we didn't have marshals here, I can tell you this much: this event would not be going through here, as there's now less than 10 minutes of time certainty left, and there's 5 minutes left on the clock. This session probably won't continue for the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. I'm going to take a wild guess here and say that Nakamura Berta is on pole. Wild guess, but a more or less needed guess here. Nakamura Berta. The sun is now officially out here at Spa, being the air temperature has actually come up a degree, 11 degrees air temperature. Track temperature being 14 degrees, so high track temperature as well. Not exactly a super high track temperature, but it's high enough for these drivers to get out there and race. But 5.5 minutes to go, and you've got less than 9 minutes of time certainty left. This session will most likely not finish, if I'm correct. And if I'm correct, it's a wild guess. But to be honest, I was probably most likely expecting it to happen. But you live and you learn. Still quite the session to come. Now, Nakamura Berta, provisional pole. At the moment, there's still the chance for anybody to beat that because race control have not confirmed it for the moment. If it does get confirmed here that we are going racing with 8 minutes of time certain to go, then we go racing. But at the moment, there is no sign of that happening. I can see one driver getting ready, keeping warm, because it is quite cold over there in Belgium at the moment. Air temperature of 11 degrees. Quite early in the morning as well over there in Spa. Quite early indeed. But I'm still waiting for that confirmation to come through as to whether or not we continue on. I see a few drivers getting helmets on. But I can definitely tell you this much. Don't expect it to stay that way. Of course, the teams will probably, most likely, be notified before the TV coverage is notified. So when you see that rush, everybody getting in their cars, that either means the session is off or it's back on. because, of course, the front cars do not just stay there. They have a paddock behind the pit lane. So yeah, that's where they keep the cars. It's one or the other here. But there's going to be around about 30 minutes of racing a bit later on today. 30 minutes plus one lap. There's going to be about 13, 14, maybe 12 laps. 13 laps of racing. Still to come. 6 minutes of time certain remaining this session. I'm wild guess, and I think it's correct. This session will not resume. So, not enough time here in this session to continue qualifying, but huge guess. It's a bold one, but I reckon this session will not continue from this point onwards here. And if it does, then we've seen our lucky stars, I can tell you that much. But, of course, racing still to come tomorrow morning for the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. Drivers getting their helmets on. But that is... There you go. Confirmation. Qualifying session 1 cancelled, deemed null. So cancelled they've cancelled the first qualifying session here. This session will not continue for absolutely everybody out there. Now that is quite disappointing because we were on to have a bit of a showdown between De Paolo and quite possibly Nakamura Berta, but that is not happening. Aldaheri starts on the front row, followed by Nakamura Berta in P2. But how this is... So it's deemed null. Now what that will mean is that nobody has a time. Does Nakamura Berta keep the pole position here? It's the big question. Does he keep the pole position, or is there not enough data? And will they go off the collective test sessions from collective test 1 and collective test 2? Test session 1 and test session 2, more or less. Will they go off that, or will they keep Nakamura Berta in pole position? Now, of course, they have these test sessions for practice sessions and also for backups for qualifying, but qualifying session 1 cancelled and deemed 0 running was done. It's disappointing. So all the cars now heading back to the paddock, unfortunately. They will not be heading back out onto the circuit. Red flag ended qualifying after a hefty shunt at the top of the hill. But we at least get to see all the cars roll back into the paddock. At least we get to see that. Now what this will also do is this will save a set of Pirelli rubber for the race a bit later on today. That's always a good sign as well. Qualifying session 1 cancelled and deemed 0 running. Not what you need here for each and every one of these drivers in terms of their confidence, but it would have been nice to see a bit of running happening. But that's qualifying session 1 done. We will be back a little bit later on today for the next running for the Formula Regional European Championship by Alpine. See you then. Bye-bye.